The Washington Capitals are your 2018 Stanley Cup champions. In today's video, we're going to recap the Stanley Cup Finals, discuss what led Washington to beat the Vegas Golden Knights and win the Stanley Cup. And that's coming up next. Hey everyone, and welcome back to another video here at Top Shelf Hockey. If you're new to the channel, thanks for stopping by. We review and discuss all 31 NHL teams. So if you're a huge hockey fan, consider subscribing and clicking the bell so you don't miss anything. So Alexander Ovechkin has finally climbed to the top of the mountain. He's got himself a Stanley Cup as well as a Conn Smythe Trophy victory for playoff MVP. But I'm sure the trophy amongst the two that he's much happier with is the elusive Stanley Cup that he's been chasing for 13 years. Ovi's finally at the top of the mountain, and you could tell it was such a raw, emotional evening for the Capitals players, but especially Ovechkin. I think he certainly changed a lot of people's opinions about him. I know that there's obviously a lot of people that have loved Ovechkin from the beginning, and there's a lot of hockey fans out there as well that wasn't really sure and kind of questioned his leadership and things over the years. And I think there's been a lot of jokes made about the Capitals choking in the playoffs, and all of those things have been put to rest. They're now part of history, and Ovechkin is a champion, and man, did he ever look good doing it. He was a man on a mission, and there was absolutely no stopping this guy and this team. They were absolutely destined to be champions this year. You could just tell, in my opinion, they just really were super hungry. They wanted it more. Even going into the third period, they're down a goal. It looks like Vegas may be able to hang on and extend this series to at least 6 games, possibly 7, try to come back and win this thing. But Ovechkin and company went back to work, and they get the job done in the third period. Obviously, former Montreal Canadian and current Washington Capital player Lars Eller scores the Stanley Cup winning goal. A little bit of a goof by defenseman Lucas Pisa, allowing that play to take place. But Eller scores the Stanley Cup winning goal. The Capitals' bottom 6 players were absolutely huge, not only in this series, but in the entire playoffs. Devontae Smith-Pelly scored another huge goal. Lars Eller scores the cup-winning goal. These guys have been tremendous for this club all year. You can throw other guys in there as well, like Jay Beagle. Ovi is arguably the greatest goal scorer of his generation, possibly of all time. He certainly ranks up there amongst the all-time greats for sure. This will certainly cement his legacy. And like I said, anybody who wasn't an Ovi fan before, you can't help but be happy for the guy. He's worked his tail off for a long time to bring a championship to Washington, and they finally come through after all those years of playoff failures. The Capitals are on top of the world. They're 2018 Stanley Cup champions. And they did it in pretty convincing fashion in 5 games. Now, the other thing that was remarkable, too, is they've won all 4 of their playoff series happen on the road. They did not win any playoff series, closing them out on home ice at all. They go into Vegas for Game 5. Like I said, they were a team on a mission. They looked like they were a team destined to be champions this year. But here's the key points that I think really allowed them to win not only last night's game, but the overall keys of the series. They had tremendous power play. The Washington Capitals power play was clicking on all cylinders. In my opinion, the Vegas penalty kill just did not adjust and take away a lot of the options. Obviously, there's a lot of weapons you can put out there on this power play. When you've got Ovechkin and Karlsson and Kuznetsov and Backstrom and guys like that on the ice, there's a lot of options and a lot of guys that can score. I mean, if you look at what the Vegas Golden Knights did against the Winnipeg Jets, though, they took away their main 2 options, which is Dustin Byfuglien and Patrick Laine. And the Capitals, in my opinion, run a very similar type setup, but they could not take it away. I'm not sure why, if they changed their approach or what it was. But Ovechkin was getting way too many opportunities for that one-timer from his patented spot in the face-off circle, and he made them pay. You can't play with fire with this Capitals power play. Vegas gave them too much space, and the Capitals took advantage of it. So special teams was definitely a major edge to the Capitals. Obviously, the Capitals, like I said, they were just wanting it more. They were blocking shots. They just seemed to be way more into this series. I'm not sure if Vegas ran out of gas or what it was, but at least after game 2 or 3, like they just seemed to be really kind of depressed, kind of down. They just didn't seem to be the same team that ran through the other 3 rounds of this playoffs with so much confidence and speed. Like, just things kind of changed for the Golden Knights players. They were getting frustrated. Obviously, they weren't having that same amount of success. The Capitals really figured out how to neutralize their speed, slow things down. They were quite physical on them, and that was difficult for Vegas to adjust to, and they just never came around with enough time to really get much on the offense going. Now, another big thing that happened in this series is Marc-Andre Fleury came back down to earth and was actually human in this series. He was superhuman through the first 3 rounds, and he was a big part of the reason, definitely their MVP, and played a major role to get them to the Stanley Cup Finals. You could argue that if they didn't have Fleury, I don't think they make it that far. He was absolutely huge for them. He was a beast in the net, and in the finals, he really didn't give them that kind of performance. I'm not going to go out there and say that Fleury was terrible, but he certainly let in a few goals that I'm sure he'd like to have back, and he needed to be superhuman the way the rest of the team was playing, and he could not deliver on that type of performance. He was outdueled by Braden Holtby in the finals. I mean, Fleury had a tremendous playoff run with this team, don't get me wrong, but he came back down to earth and he was just ordinary in the series, where Braden Holtby was doing much better standing on his head back there in the Washington net to take things away. I mean, there was especially earlier in the series, you could tell Vegas was getting frustrated. They were getting a lot of good looks early on and weren't able to put him in the net, either between Holtby making a lot of good saves, and they hit the post an amazingly number of times as well. The goalposts were certainly not in Vegas's favor in this series. In the first few games, I couldn't tell you how many times I heard that puck ding off the post, and it just changed the series for sure. Even in Game 4, when James Neal had that open net and he managed to hit the post again, it's just one of those things that the puck luck just was not going Vegas's way. So there was definitely a number of times when they had opportunities, looked like they were going to cash in, and the dang post is what stopped them. I mean, it's just one of those crazy things. Sometimes the bounces just don't go your way. I'm not going to say that was the only reason, though. It certainly played a small role in keeping things a little bit closer. But at the end of the day, the Capitals were the better team. They neutralized Vegas' speed. They took advantage of special teams. And they, like I said, they just were hungrier. They just wanted it more, and there was just no stopping them. They were a team on a mission. Ovechkin was a man on a mission, and it just wasn't in the cards, so to speak, for Vegas to unfortunately to come through and win their first Stanley Cup. I mean, the Capitals have been a franchise now for over 40 years waiting for this, so they ended their drought. Another good kind of storyline into this series as well as the Washington Capitals, when they were an expansion team, had the worst ever record as an expansion team, whereas the Golden Knights have the best ever one. So you have the worst expansion team versus the best expansion team, and the worst expansion team comes out on top. Obviously, that's 40-some years later. So a lot has changed for that franchise, but it's just a unique storyline running through this series. But the Vegas Golden Knights have a lot to be proud of. They had a tremendous year. They far exceeded everybody's expectations, probably even their own, I'm sure. They did a tremendous job of making that market in Vegas be very passionate about hockey. I mean, just from the pictures and the videos and everything that you can see coming out of that city, I mean, the practice rink is plugged full all the time. Hockey has become a passion in Vegas, and these players played a major role in helping them do that. You can tell how much not only this city loves this team, but how much the team loves the city and loves to give back and be a part of that community. Those players have done a tremendous job, not only the players, but the management, ownership, and really getting everybody involved in the community and making everything. Vegas is slowly becoming one of the hotbeds of hockey here. I mean, considering how things went, it looks like it's one of the funnest places to go. Watch a hockey game. Vegas obviously is known a lot as a gambling town, a party town, but now it's becoming a sports town, and those players have a major role in accomplishing that in what people think of when they think of Las Vegas. So Las Vegas fans, Las Vegas players, you have nothing to be ashamed of. I hope you're not hanging your heads. You have a lot to be proud of. You have a tremendous hockey club with a very bright future, and I hope you can hang your head high here, put a smile on your face, and be happy that your team went on this kind of a run. Because even though you didn't win the Stanley Cup, there's a lot of other fan bases who would love to be in your shoes and haven't even had the opportunity to have their team do a run like this, and a lot of these other fans have been waiting 10, 20, 30 plus years. So you have a lot to be proud of. Keep your head up high. And keep smiling, because this Vegas Golden Knights team is going to be a force to be reckoned with for a long time. Congratulations to the Washington Capitals, champions for 2018. Congratulations to Alexander Ovechkin. It was tremendous hearing all the post-game interviews and hearing a lot of the stories on what led them to where they are in their careers. Seeing the TJ Oshie, it was hard to not kind of tear up a little bit watching him talk about his father and then see them have a chance to talk and embrace afterwards. These players have personal lives too, and they certainly have a lot of family members that help them get where they're at, and to see them be able to come out on the ice and to celebrate that and to kind of put it all together really makes for a nice story. It's, there's more than just what goes on the ice. There's a lot that goes on behind the scenes in these players' lives to help them get where they're at, and it's nice to be able to see them accomplish everything that they do, and to see them celebrate it with their families on the ice. I mean, that's not something that's always happened. The on the ice stuff was usually just to players for the longest time. That's a newer tradition, but it's really nice to see the league let them come down and do that. I'm sure it means a lot to the players. And as a fan, it feels like you're connecting more with the players and getting to know them more as people and understand their stories and how they fought to get where they are. So if you're new to the channel, I hope you consider subscribing. We cover all 31 NHL teams. There's plenty of content here for all hockey fans to enjoy. So if you're new, hit that subscribe button. If you like this video, make sure you smash that like button as well. I'd really appreciate it if you did. Congratulations, Washington, 2018 champions, and we'll catch you next time.